Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. It is 7:01 and I want to respect everyone's time. So again, thank you for coming and spending some time with me at 7 o'clock in the evening. Uh, Hi, hi, Katrina. I see you in the chat. How are you? Thank you for joining. This is the Lead with AI for school leaders. And so I got into this. Of course, you all know me, but I'm gonna go ahead and say my spiel anyway, since we're recording. I'm Dr. Bostic. I'm a former principal, teacher. Well, I started as a paraprofessional, then teacher, then administrator, and then principal, a district administrator, and then the superintendent. So I've kind of done the whole thing for the K through 12, and now I've moved into the consulting space where I help parents as well as other school leaders just leverage the public school system for parents, and then for leaders, I'm really into this AI. I wish I had AI when I was a school leader, more so now, especially with Claude and what they've come out with. Of course, I'm married with 27 years, have 8 kids. So that's kind of led me into the parenting space where I help parents with the whole academic space of helping their students and helping their students achieve at the highest academic levels themselves. All right, so I started my AI journey with ChatGPT. So this is going to be interactive, so y'all can just come in and we can have a conversation. But what experience level do you all have using AI? Are you all beginners? Or are you all, you can just put it in the chat because I know Natrina, you're engaged in another event. But you can put it in the chat if you're experienced with AI and you used it to do prompts and you used it for your work already, or you are brand new to AI. Where do you fall? Okay, so I'm going to assume that you are brand new to AI. Okay, use ChatGPT and Copilot. Okay. All right. So then I'm going to AI and Claude is going to show I'm going to show you some things that are very helpful when we're doing our work as administrators. So we're going to get into it. All right, so this is just the people who have filled out the survey. As you saw, I put it out on Facebook and I saw what type of people are interested in this. And these are the people who filled out the survey that I shared. And these are the results from the survey. What type of school organization? Most of them are elementary, middle school, high school, district office, all over the gamut in public education from K through 12. Then we went into the roles, and you see the roles mostly assistant principals and principals. We do have some superintendents and assistant superintendents that completed the survey and that are interested in using AI to help their workload become, easier. However, it was mainly principals and assistant principals. So that's kind of the sweet spot for me, which is where I was as well and how I used AI. And this is what people were struggling with. 86% struggling with task and follow-up, and how to save time with repetitive work, and then email, which is like the number one time drain of all administrators I've all ever talked to, is email, organizing that email. So now when we are, hello, welcome, Tron. Thank you for joining. And so now it's like this is what was told to me: the struggles with the task and save time with repetitive work, and then email. And those are the main concerns. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, and how Claude AI can be helpful in that. Now, I said that I use ChatGPT. That's what I started my AI journey, and ChatGPT was great, and it was one of the first ones. But now I've moved to Claude. And all of the AI spaces, all you'll hear Anthropic, you hear Claude, you hear Copilot, you'll hear several AI companies that are doing this work. Claude is just, if you're thinking about a race, and Claude is at the front right now. But all of them are going to be catching up because they're all making it better every single day. So what we talk about is going to be applicable to any AI that you plan to use, because all of them will eventually have the same type of capabilities. But right now, Claude is at the front, and it's mainly because of their co-work, and they have Claude Code and Claude Co-work. Now we're going to be talking about the free version on this call, but if you want to go deeper, I will be going deeper in some of the other work that be applicable to Claude Co-work and Claude Code. Okay. All right, so now this is what you'll walk away with today. A faster way to handle your email. So we're going to do some examples with drafting, respond, organizing in minutes, documentation in half the time, how to document things. This is directly from the survey, and an organizing system that works, that how you can manage your tasks, information, and follow-ups, all using AI. So what used to take 2 hours can now take 10 minutes with just some planning on the front end. All right, so now if you do not have a membership in Claude, now's the time to go ahead and start your membership in Claude. And it really takes only about 2 minutes to go ahead if you don't have an account. But if you have not set it up, go ahead and set it up. I will be going back and forth and sharing my screen in Claude so you can see what I'm talking about. But I do want you to, log in, and it's the free version. It's two versions. You have the free or the pro. I have the pro because I use Claude Cowork and Claude Code a lot for a lot of the other projects that I'm doing. But the free version is the perfect way to just kind of get started into Claude. And if you're a Chat GPT and you've used Chat GPT a lot, you don't have to abandon Chat GPT. I still have my Chat GPT membership. I don't use it as much, but I still have it. And you can still copy what was in Chat GPT and put it over into Claude, and it will get to know you the exact same way. But the AIs are very, very sophisticated. So they will be able to kind of talk to each other and get to know. All right, so if you are in Claude, great. Let's follow along. You can also talk in the chat, and if you want to come off mute and have a question, you can also do that too as well. Okay. All right, so now first I want to talk about the prompts. So how you tell AI is really that's the key. You have to tell it, think about it as your employee that you're going to tell how to do something, and that's how you want it, but you only have to tell them once, not normally how you have to repeat and repeat and repeat. As administrators, we have to say it 3, 4 times before it really gets to the heart of what they're able to follow. However, with AI, you tell it once and it's trained and it remembers, but it's how you tell it is going to be the prompt. So I have a 3 prompt formula that I follow in every single prompt. I start with the role. I was like, and so for instance, you are an assistant principal or you're an assistant to a school principal. Then you tell it what you want it to do exactly as closely as possible. Write a 3 sentence parent newsletter intro, and then you give it some type of context or the why. Why do you want it to do it? Our school is focusing on school wellness this school year. So the better your prompt is, the better your output. And I'm going to do an example now for you. So I'm about to share my screen for Claude. Just give me a second, and I'm going to put in a prompt for Claude so that we can do it together. All right, so you should be able to see my screen. This is my Claude Cowork and code, and you'll see that up the top. If you're new to Claude, then you'll just see the chat up here. All right, so now I'm going to give it the role that I had for my, it said I'm assistant to a school leader. Hold on. Okay, so I'm going to give it the role. I am an assistant to a school principal. Write a three three sentence letter. Write a 3 sentence opening for the school newsletter, and we are concentrating on school wellness. And so it's simply put it in, it's thinking about it, and then it'll craft in a 3 sentence just that quick. And then you can give it feedback on what you think. So this is like a 3 sentence opening for your school wellness focused letter. As we know, rhythm school year, we want to remind our school community that wellness for students and staff alike. And that's okay. And so you do have to You do have to read it and give it feedback. And if you want to give some more feedback, you could say, this is good. Um, reduce to 2 sentences, and it'll do just that. So this is basic, and this is just like how ChatGPT was and is, and it kind of goes back and forth to the same way that those. So that's basically a code work for this example. Okay, so now if you have a chance to do it, go ahead and try it. You're an assistant principal to a school principal. Write a warm, professional 3 sentence welcome back message to families for our school newsletter. The school is starting a new focus on student wellness. Pretty much the same thing, and that's kind of what we did for that live demo. So is this pretty much what you all are doing right now, or you're able to do right now? And you can put it in the chat or come off mute. Okay, I see Ms. Jones is saying yes. Okay. All right. So now we'll get into a little bit more in depth. All right. So email is stealing your leadership time. So we talked about email. Okay, and so Nakia said, yeah, she's used that before. Okay, good. So now we're going to go a little bit deeper. So this is the email and stealing your leadership time. So remember we talked in the survey, it said 2 to 3 hours spent on email every single day, 10 to 15 hours per week lost on your inbox, and 70% of your peers cite as email as the number one pain. So that's it's very common. All right, so now this is 3 ways that Claude, the free version, can handle your email. All right, so first is, of course, it can draft a new email just by starting from nothing and writes a polished email in seconds from your bullet notes. It can reply to a difficult message, struggling with a difficult parent, which we all have experienced, and it can also summarize a long thread. So you know how we get these emails from the district and it has 5 people have put input on it. You can copy the entire thread and ask AI to summarize it. And I'll give you the prompts at the end. But you can ask AI to summarize it, and it'll summarize it for you into bullet points and your next action steps. And so I'm gonna give you that method on how I used to do it with ChatGPT, but then I could do it with Claude now, and how we'll do that. So now I want to go to an example. And this is the example that I would like to share with the group. All right, so now we have all started the school year off with something that looks like this. Dear principal, I'm writing an extremely upset. This is a parent email. I'm extremely upset and disappointed that my child was not placed with the teacher I requested at the beginning of the school year. Does that sound familiar? Because we've all gotten that. I don't like my child's teacher. I want them to change. That's basically what this email is. So then I've already done this example and put it in Claude and got the response. But I copied this entire email, and I asked Claude using my 3 prompts, write a professional email. You're the school principal. Write a professional email response stating that we don't pick teachers based off of just we have to have attributes or something like that along that nature. And this is the email response that I received from Claude. And then you can actually go in and update it and say if you wanted to adjust it or say, hey, make it use a stronger tone, use a less tone, any kind of update that you want, and Claude can do it. So rather than sitting there and wordsmithing the letter yourself, you actually can just use Claude to say it. And I used to just say it how I want to say it and then ask Claude to put it in a kind, professional manner. All right, so now I'm going to do that really quickly and share my screen so that you all can see as well. So now I'm going to say, write a professional response to an angry parent that is requesting a new teacher at the start of the year. And then they'll come up with they'll come up with a different response. Okay, and so now I have another example that I used as well. And this was my prompt that I used. And this is regarding teachers. And so now I'm looking at teachers and saying, well, hey, I have this issue with a teacher. All right, so speaking as an elementary school principal, write a letter of concern to a staff member that has been tardy 5 times this month. Reference TEKS, because I'm in the state of Georgia, and TEKS is our professional standards that all teachers have to apply, like the same observation standards that they have to adhere to, professional standards. And we have a school goal of 0 tardies for the month of August from that all staff members. And then, so this is my prompt using the same 3-prompt method. And then this is what it comes up with in just minutes. And here's the letter. And then I can send that email. That's the documentation. And then I can move on from there with my day. So literally it takes less than a few minutes to write something that's professional. And then also I had it in a previous one. I did, hold on, I'm gonna share it. In the previous one I did, I had it write that and then put it on letterhead. And it was already on letterhead and had a place for them to sign. So this is one of the ways that I've used Claude and AI to really assist me in in making sure that I can always stay on top of what I'm looking at as well, but I can also make sure that it's documented and it's not as much time. So what used to take 10, 15 minutes for a letter now takes 2 seconds. All right, so now these are the email prompts. You can draft these new emails, and I'm going to send these to you as a follow-up when I send the survey as well. So you'll have copies of email prompts. And I also do a lot of prompts in email a lot of prompt work in my school community where I give it's all free. So I create prompts for different situations, different things, and then I just give it to make it available to principals and administrators that are in my school community. And if you want if you want it tailored to your specific, I can do that as well. And so for instance, if you're not using, like, are we all Title I schools? Are you all part of Title I schools? If you're a Title I school and have to write that Title I plan, AI is absolutely how you can do that. You meet with your team and then say, okay, hey, what are our focus areas? And then come up with just your 3 things. I want to do literacy, math, and science, and a wellness goal or attendance goal. And then you can take those 4, make SMART goals for them, send them back to your team, make sure they agree, and then you can write your whole Title I plan just based off of that using the federal guidelines and everything set up in Claude. And I'm gonna go back to Claude to show you how to set up a project, and that's how you kind of make it tailored to just your school or tailored to just you. Okay. Are there any questions so far? You can put it in the chat or you can unmute and speak. Okay, I will keep going. All right, so the math doesn't lie. So average email takes 8 to 10 minutes, and this saves time. Emails per day, time per email, daily total, weekly total. And you can see it can save hours on the course of the week, and we definitely deserve to have our hours back. All right, so now let's talk about documentation. So we talked about email. We talked about how we can improve our email, and now we're talking about documentation. Documentation, everyone asks after something happens, how did you document it? What did you do to document it? And I have specific strategies on how I use documentation and how I documented all of this so that I can make sure that it is I can make sure that it's definitely being adhered to, and I'm keeping up with the documentation, but I know what is going on, and I can also move forward with providing that to my superiors. So I used it for behavior incidents reports, meeting notes and follow-up emails, observation summaries and coaching notes, and student and staff documentation. So you know what to document, and Claude just helps you do it faster. All right, so let's talk about the how. All right, so first, use jot bullet notes. If let's talk about a behavior incident. So something happened with behavior, and you can't really just in the moment start taking notes about what happened, but you can after the fact write down and say, this is what happened. Write down your bullet notes, and then take that, and then you take your bullet notes and paste that into Claude with the right prompt. And then use that prompt to review clause output and adjust it, done, and you file in. Now, I have a caveat to that. Now, we can't just record each other or record conversations. That not doesn't necessarily build trust within your community. However, you can record yourself. So at the end of when an incident happens, I'll take my trusty phone out and I'll make a note and say, hey, this is what happened, and I'll just talk. And then I'll get the transcript from what I spoke about, and then I'll put that into Claude, and then Claude will jot the notes down and paste it in Claude and jot the notes down and provide the report. Now, there's another caveat to that. If you have a specific form that your documentation has to be on. So for instance, if you have a specific behavior incident form, you can upload a template of that form and ask Claude to fill it out based off the information that you've said, all under 3 minutes. So you can literally have the full incident report completed in under 3 minutes after just following that, by just writing down your bullet points or making a recording of that. And so we can do an example of that. I'll go back to Claude. All right, so I'm going back to Claude and I'm gonna say write a, ooh, please don't judge my spelling in the moment. Write a behavior incident report of the following facts. Student A hit another student in the cafeteria, and student B hit back, causing a fight. The recommendation is in school suspension and parent phone call. Simple as that, and it'll come up. Now, if I had it to where I had an actual student behavior incident report form, it would do that. And then I would simply at the end, this little dot right here is where I copy it. I could put it in a Word document if I don't have a specific form, and then print that Word document and then file it or save it, however you do that. So now let's talk about how you can personalize it. On the right-hand side, you'll see projects. And under projects is where you're actually going to come up with your project and name that project. So let's do that. And you'll see my project's already there, but I'm gonna say ABC School. And my description is elementary school. And I want to achieve higher, I want to have the best school. I would like to have the best school of choice for my parents. All right, so then I can create this project. And now, once you create a project, and this is included in the free version, you have a chat window right here, but then you can also upload things to the memory. So instructions and files. So under files, I would then upload my student handbook, the district handbook, anything that I want them to always reference before they go into their chat. So then whenever I'm chatting, it's going to reference the files that I have already uploaded. So for instance, in my previous example, I talked about a Title I plan. So then I can actually create a project that is ABC School Title I plan. I would then go pull the federal guidelines for Title I, and I would put that in my file. I would from the State Department. Well, we don't have a Department of Education anymore. So I don't know where those files would be. However, in the past, I would have pulled those down and put that in the file. Then I would go to my districts. Anything I have for my district, any guidelines or anything they have for Title I plans, I would also put that there. So then anytime that I'm referencing a Title I plan, it will reference those documents, and everything that it spits out, it will pull from that as a resource first. So this using a project and creating projects for all of your things is powerful. So when I was elementary school principal, I would have, or when I was superintendent, because that's when I was using chat, and they had projects as well. I had projects for every single area, for operations, for finance, for human resources, for teachers, for feedback, for observation. I mean, a project for everything, and I would have it uploaded. So it's almost like a second brain. So this is more of productivity more so than just knowledge. So you're really trying to be, how can I be as effective and as productive as I can using Claude? And this is where I'm talking about the front end. So if you look at your whole school year or you look at your whole school building, what are all the areas that you need to have an expert in? And then you create a project, and that is your expert for that. So for school finance, create an expert, upload all your financial policies and your financial guidelines for your school, and that will it will pull from that whenever you talk to the and within that project. So does that make sense? Does everyone kind of see what I'm saying on that, or does everyone understand what I'm saying on that front?
Dr. Bostic,
Yes,
I have a quick question.
yes.
How many projects are you able to store on the free version?
I don't know that there's a limit. So on the free version, it does work with credits. And so I'm not sure if a project itself takes up credits, but how much you use it will take up the credits. But I have not run out of when I was on the free version because I used that for like a month, and then I went to the paid because I wanted to use co-work. So now, and I'm gonna talk about co-work because I can't just if you all the $20 investment is worth it. And I'll do another session if you decide to go on co-work. But co-work is where you can automatize a lot of these things, especially your repetitive work. So imagine that over the weekend, you don't check your email at all, but you have Claude, you have an automation set up within co-work that reads your email and summarizes it for you. Now, that is powerful because it's going to say, all right, what can you delegate? What can you do right now? What needs to be addressed right now? That's just with email. You can also remember how in with Title I plans, you have to do progress monitoring all throughout the year. Well, Claude Cowork can do that for you. Once you complete your Title I plan, put it in there and say, okay, what are the rubrics for what are the rubrics for the progress monitoring that you want to follow for the rest of the school year? Then you can have the same way that did a form survey for you all. You can do a same form survey, give it to your teachers, have them fill out the information for benchmark testing or whatever you're tracking, have them give that back and they turn it into Claude and they can do the progress monitoring all school year. So it's hands off. And all you're doing is really communicating and facilitating and assisting teachers with the actual work rather than gathering it, creating a data dashboard and making it. Claude Cowork can do all of that for you and you can see it, visualize it yourself. And I can help you set that up for your school year, and it's definitely powerful and it saves just so much more time. So, but to answer your question, I don't know if you have, I don't think there's a limit on how many projects you can have. It's the amount of usage that you use on the free version. Okay, and then I say if I load the handbook and my discipline form as a project, each time like to have a parent letter, can I ask it to pull from there? Absolutely. That's exactly what, yeah. And so when I have a newsletter, I do newsletters for my parents, in my other my other consulting part where I'm helping parents, and I have that pulling from the same information so that it does the whole template and everything. So let's just try it. Create a school newsletter template for the new year. We are concentrating on literacy. And so, and if you have a Canva account, you can put Canva in here. You can link Canva, your Canva account in this as well, and you can tell it to use Canva as your resource. If you have any other outside apps that you use, you can put them in to and ask Claude to use those as the same resource. So it's not just what's coming from your brain and what you're telling. You can say, hey, use Canva to create this professional newsletter that'll go out to parents. And then you can also do the same thing. If you want a weekly newsletter from all of your teachers, and you can say, hey, based off the lesson plan, you can teach your teachers to do the exact same thing and say, hey, this is the prompt. This is what I want you all to do. Make sure you're referencing your lesson plans and give the parents a heads up of what's coming up on a weekly basis in a simple newsletter. So now this is the newsletter it came up with. Now, if had I told it to use my Canva account, it'd probably be more aesthetically pleasing, but you get the drift. It'll absolutely create it for you in a heartbeat. All right, so now I see from Tron is you have Microsoft Copilot. It came with Office 365. It uses Claude for deep thinking when set on auto, or you can specifically choose Claude. That's absolutely true. And Autopilot, or I'm sorry, Copilot is good as well. But when I tell you Claude Cowork, and I'm gonna show you the example that I use, and it's gonna change how you really think about Claude Cowork. And actually, I'll just go through it now. So I told you I work with parents as well. And so working with parents on the academically space and how to leverage the academic or the public school system to come up with the highest outcomes for their students involves creating space and time to talk and be with your student. And so I also give them time-saving tips. And I put this out on Facebook. So if you're my Facebook friend, you actually know this example. But I set up a skill in Claude Cowork where it does all of my grocery shopping for me. So, for example, I literally gave my kids a survey to do. They completed the survey. They turned the survey back in to me. I took that information and actually, I'll show you the survey itself. Where is it? Okay, so here's the survey, and it's a family food survey. And so I asked them to fill out the family food survey. And so it's just basic. What do you like to eat? It's just a basic family food survey. So then from there, I asked Claude to then come up with all of the menus for the all the menus that I need for my family. And for full transparency, I have a family of eight, 8 children and my husband, and we all like to eat. I mean, that's just something that we all enjoy doing. And so I asked Claude to come up with a family menu because they're all home for the summer. And so, of course, that means grocery shopping. And so now you can see this is what Claude came up with, a weekly menu. Then I took the weekly menu and asked it to do a shopping list. It came up with a shopping list and where the things are with my grocery store of choice. And then it also went into coupon deals for the week. So now I take this entire file, this is an Excel file, and I upload it to Claude Cowork. And then I log into Claude Cowork and also my Kroger.com account. And I told Claude Cowork and created a skill for it to go into my Kroger.com account and do all of the shopping for me. So it literally going into the account and is doing the shopping for me. And then at the end, after like 20 minutes or so, I just go in and I check it to make sure it has everything that I want. I look at how much it is. And if I wanted to adjust, hey, it needs to be under $200. And I'll tell it to go back and adjust. It'll go back in and adjust. And then I press pay and that's it. So I'm so hands off of it now that I don't even have to go into the store if I don't want to, as long as I plan appropriately. And it has changed the game. And you can do the same thing for work, the same type of work. So for instance, if you have an online system that you want someone to work parallel with you, think of it as like an assistant going in and doing something for you and with you. Then it's like, okay, yeah, that I see you trying. Yes, it is that powerful. So if you can think about your systems that you have to do on a weekly basis, think about attendance. Now you have the same attendance information and you pull it from the same place every single week to track it and pull it. Imagine a dashboard that's created in Claude AI that does it for you. So then you're walking in on Monday looking at last week's work. You know whose letters need to go to, and you can also just have them printed out already for you waiting, and you can give it to the secretary and say, hey, mail these or create the system behind it. Once you have all the letters printed, mail them, and keep up with them and keep up with the replies. So, I mean, just think about the systems that you have to do every week and think about who else can do it. If another person can do it, then AI and Claude can do it. It is absolutely a game changer. It is absolutely a game changer. All right, so I'm gonna go back to the presentation. All right, so these are some of the things, the documenting and saving prompts that I talked about, and I'm gonna send these prompts to you. So, and I'm gonna send this whole presentation to you. It's gonna be in the school, in my school community, and it kind of will walk you through how to use the prompts as well. All right, so and then this is just a privacy reminder. This is real. This is still Claude. This is still just like putting things out on the internet. So you definitely don't want to put student names out there. That's why you saw when I did, I said student A and student B. So then when you go back and have your documentation, you can go back and put the student name in there as well. Or you can create a draft and say, okay, secretary, please update this with the student name and their personal information. So you don't want to put social security numbers or any identifying information. And then you can use Claude for IEP and for progress monitoring. However, and 504 PANs. However, you just want to exclude the student information. So for instance, this student will be student A, and you have to have a chart to keep up with who is student A on that a corresponding chart. But I absolutely used it to use to write IEPs. Again, I absolutely used it to write IEPs. I absolutely used Claude to write the notes for the IEPs. Absolutely, hands down. So this is just another way of making sure that you're, getting your time back so we can have some work-life balance. And because the overwhelm is real, you want to help right managing tasks, and that's what everyone was asking or saying on the form. Everyone wanted managing tasks and follow-ups. Everyone wanted help with organizing information. And this is really just putting in a system on how to use Claude and really opening up our thinking to saying, hold up, can this be done through Claude? How can I help them do that? Or how can I make the system up within Claude using projects and using the correct prompts? Because none of us became a leader to manage chaos. We want to teach children. And so that's what this is for. And Claude helps us, or AI helps us be able to have the time to go back in the classrooms, to go back in the hallway, be more visible, because then you actually have the time to do that and you're not spending 5 hours after work in order to do that. You don't have to give up your evenings in order to make that happen. You can actually do both. All right, so now think of Claude again as your organizational brain. Summarize, it turns all the text into 5 bullet points. You can plan your weekly focus. And just like we have students to do weekly lesson plans, or not students, but teachers to do weekly lesson plans, as an administrator, we should have our own weekly lesson plan of the tasks and things that are due that week that we need to address. And I know in DeKalb we had this saying that you had to be in the classroom for 2 hours a day, and it was like, whoa, or an hour a day. I mean, that's a lot. However, it's definitely needed. And so how do you plan around that to make that happen along with your duty and just being visible in the hallways? How do you plan your day around that? So that weekly focus plan is going to be extremely important. And then you can prioritize your tasks, train others to use the same Claude as applicable to their work. So I'm concentrating on the principal and the assistant principal or the school administrator role in using Claude or using AI. But now think of yourself as a school secretary. How would they use AI? Think of yourself as a school registrar. How would you use AI? Think of yourself as the school counselor. How would they use AI? Or the school social worker? So every single role has applicable the same thing. What projects would you set up as the school counselor? And how could you train the school counselor in order to think like that in projects to have it all so they can run their position just as efficiently as you plan to run yours? And so that's what I help schools do. I help schools kind of organize themselves and those major roles organize themselves as well using AI. So it's not a replacement, it's a help. And it can't replace what you do because you're still the human in behind it. You still know the students. You're still the human factor behind it. But how can I make my work so efficient that I can maximize the human nature part of this work? Okay. So now this will be your Monday morning routine. brain dump your weekly tasks into a Notes app or a Google Doc, and you can actually just speak it and have it do the transcript like we did before. Paste your list in the Claude weekly planning prompt and using the same prompt, and then it will sort it using must do today, must do this week, delegate or wait, and then write your Monday morning focus. And then you walk into the week with clarity instead of chaos. You know exactly what you need to do. And then you can share that with your team. So imagine you doing that not only for yourself, but for your assistant principals or your instructional coaches. So then everybody walks into the week with clarity. And that's every Monday. And if you have Claude co-work, it can be done automatically for you by finishing on Friday, just saying everything you need to do, and it can have it already done and sent to everyone's email on that Sunday evening or Monday morning, whatever you prefer, and it's done automatically as long as you put the input in on Friday. And that's what we're talking about when we're setting up AI to help and make sure that the thing, those days of working late on Fridays, doing what you want the Monday memo to look like and doing that on Sunday nights, those are days are over. With Claude AI, you can have your Sundays and your time back. All right, so this is building your personal AI system, and these are the prompts that you can use. And I'm going to again send this to you. It's going to be available in the school community, and I'm going to send it all to you in an email so that you'll be able to have access to it. All right, so now this is your turn to actually go in Claude or your AI of choice. Because again, my vision or that I see what is coming, you know how some districts are Microsoft districts or I'm a Google district. I see districts becoming, I am an Anthropic district. I only use Claude, or I'm a Microsoft district. I only use Copilot, or I see districts becoming that. So remember, this is not this. I'm talking about Claude right now because they're at the front and they have co-work and they have Claude Code, which is just another very powerful tool to use to organize our work. However, all of them will end up having the same capabilities. So now when you're coming through and doing your turn to come up with your prompts, just remember the process is still going to be the same. You're going to say what you want them to do, you're going to give it context and the why behind it, and then you're going to tell them who you are. So remember, you tell them who you are. I'm an assistant principal or I'm a principal speaking as a principal, and then tell them what you want them to do. Write a newsletter or come up with 5 Smarty goals for my Title I plan, and then tell it the context. The goals are literacy, math, science, and attendance. All that is what makes up a good prompt. All right, so now these are just another tips to keep handy. Be specific, give context, refine, role task content, and your first prompt is just your starting point. You can always give feedback. Okay. All right, so now does anyone have any questions or wants to give any feedback? Thank you for the chat. Yes, it is huge. This definitely is a big game changer. And so you can come off mute if you have any questions or if you want to share anything there or share how you used it. And if I have not gone over it, I can go over it and make that part of it. Okay. All right, so now this is what I do now. I help teachers, I help schools lead with AI, and I come in with monthly classes, live classes. I do that through my school community. I have a prompt and template library that is also within my school community, and I use AI to just really leverage everything that I do now because that's just where we're going. It's not going to replace us. I don't think there's ever going to be, especially in education, because kids just learn better from humans. However, I do think it can make our work so much better so teachers are not as overwhelmed as they could be. So, I mean, just think about it. If you're a classroom teacher and you're able to leverage AI effectively, we're talking about progress monitoring for your RTI. We're talking about notes for conferences. We're talking about lesson planning and how does that coming up how to come up with differentiated lesson plans. We're talking about making sure that kids understand and different ways or misconceptions thinking about math. What are all the misconceptions with adding fractions? And having that teacher knowledge base to be able to say, hey, they may come up with that misconception. How can I address that within my lesson plan? All of that can be done within Claude and within your AI of choice. And I help schools really, and I help leaders really leverage that. I can work with principals, I can work with your leadership team, and I can also work with teachers as well on how to leverage AI within their community. And so thank you for coming today. You are a founding member of my school community. If you're not in the school community, please join. That's where all of these resources are. So you'll receive an email talking about the school community and how to join, but also the follow-up for the feedback for this session. And it's just giving me feedback on how to make this session more applicable to more leaders as we come back and do this. So you're part of the beta class, and I appreciate you all coming and being a part of this. It really does mean a lot to me. This is my first, well, this is my second session. I've done one other with the other school leaders. One was during the day, and this one was at night. And so I just appreciate the feedback and the attendance for coming. So if you don't have any other questions, that does end in the session. I'll stay on if you want to talk for oh, I'm sorry, what's coming up next? I forgot the last slide. So what I'm doing next month is grant funding and how to write grants with AI using leveraging AI. So the state of Georgia, I know grants have slowed down for state grants, federal grants have slowed down. However, there are so many private grants that are available that people want to just give money out. And so using AI to not only just find the grants, but then also apply them based off of your school improvement plan or your Title I plan and how to actually write the grant using AI. So what used to take a grant writer and a whole position can now be done with AI. And so, I mean, you can look like just the grant writing specialist just by utilizing AI and coming up with another Claude skill to say, hey, let's write this. And you can paste whatever the grant requirements are, and it'll give you the parameters and timeline on how to come up and fill out and complete the grant. I also do school scheduling. So school scheduling utilizing AI, how to do that in the most effective way. So gone are the days where you are just at your board with note cards and color-coded note cards and all of that. All that you don't have to do that anymore. You can now use Claude to put in all the parameters and make an overall school schedule. So then you actually have a school schedule that you know will work, and it has all the things that go along with it. The school lunch, the overall master schedule, the school lunch schedule, specials or the like art, music, PE, all of those special schedules, the RTI, special ed scheduling, all of that can be done with AI. And I have a system that I use. I love scheduling. I don't mean to be so passionate about it, but that's one of my jams. I love scheduling. So of course, that was one of the first things that I did with AI was school scheduling. And then, of course, FTE reporting and all the requirements that come up with FTE. So you'll see, and that'll be in the school in July. I'll be talking about that and having sessions on that. And so it'll be exclusively within my school community and how to use AI to do all of these things so much easier. All right, so now that comes to the end. And if you have any questions, I'm gonna stay on. I'm gonna stay on the line and so that you can fill out the feedback survey that I'll email to you, and then that's it. So thank you so much for coming, and I'll stay on. Thank you. So it's Natrina, Tron, Nikia. Thank you all for coming. I'm gonna take a picture of you all. Smile. Okay. All right. So thank you all so much.